Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show where we take your curiosity, add a stack of fascinating sources, and distill it all down to the most essential insights. Today, we're plunging into a world you probably see, maybe even use, every single day. Duolingo. You know, that app with the very persistent green owl, the daily streaks, those sometimes weird sentences. It's really become this cornerstone of modern language learning for so many people. And you've brought us a fantastic collection of articles, some research too, and our mission today is really to unpack Duolingo's methods, figure out why it's just so incredibly famous globally, and maybe most importantly, pull out some really practical tips for you to get the most out of it. So I guess the big question is, how did this app, which seems pretty simple on the surface, become such a language learning, well, juggernaut?
It's a great question, and it really is a fascinating story. A lot of it comes down to what they actually call the Duolingo method. And this isn't just something they stumbled upon. It's quite a sophisticated approach developed over like a decade. They combine academic research, teaching experience, and tons of data from watching how people actually learn on their own. So the first principle is really interactive learning. Learn by doing. It's not about just reading rules. Duolingo puts you right in the middle of it, making you do exercises from the get-go. It taps into how our brains naturally pick up patterns. Verb endings, spelling rules, that kind of thing. You start simple, your brain notices things, and then it ramps up the difficulty. And they've got like optional hints in these little bite-sized explanations if you get stuck. It's like scaffolding.
That learn by doing makes a lot of sense for just jumping in. But languages are complex. How do they make sure it actually fits you and isn't just the same for everyone?
Right, that's the second key part. Personalized learning. This is where the AI and the learning science really come in. They use an AI model that's constantly watching how you do. It figures out your strengths, your weaknesses as you go through the lessons. And then it adapts the content, the order of things, how hard the questions are just for you. The idea is to keep you right at that perfect spot, what they call just the right level of difficulty.
Sort of pushing you, but not so much you give up.
Exactly, pushing you right to the edge of what you know. That's supposedly where the best learning happens, keeps you engaged, helps you actually build skills. So your course ends up being pretty unique. Then there's focus content. They're teaching what matters. Duolingo isn't trying to teach you like every obscure grammatical rule from day one. Instead, they focus on the most important stuff, the skills you actually need. And they align this with established language standards, national and international ones. So you're building a solid foundation for using the language in the real world.
Makes sense. Get the basics right first.
Yeah. And then, crucially, there's motivation, goals, and gamification. This is huge for them. Gamification, using game mechanics like points and levels in a non-game context. The whole Duolingo experience is built for the long haul, for retention. Lessons are short, just a few minutes, easy to squeeze in. You get points, you build up those streaks.
Oh, the streaks. People get very serious about their streaks.
They really do. And you can team up with friends or compete with them. It creates this powerful feedback loop, makes you want to come back every day. It can feel almost addictive in a way.
So it's not just learning, it's about making the process of learning feel rewarding.
Absolutely. Which leads to the final piece, entertainment, or as they put it, delight.
Yeah.
They deliberately try to make it fun, lighthearted, because, well, people learn better when they're enjoying themselves, right? You've got the characters, Duo the Owl, obviously, but also Lily, the goth teen, Junior. They all have personalities. They give you encouraging messages. And even the sentences themselves can be, well, memorable, sometimes bizarrely funny, which actually helps things stick in your memory, and it makes people share them online, adding to the virality.
Okay, that's a really clear breakdown of the method, but like you said, the scale. 34 million daily users? That's staggering. What pushed it beyond just having a good method? It feels like the free part is key here. I remember reading about the co-founder, Luis Fananan. His background in Guatemala seems really central to this. His mission, wanting to give access to education to everybody because he saw how wealth often determined who got a good education there. That seems like the bedrock, doesn't it? This commitment to making it free.
It absolutely is. It's a powerful story. And how they make it work financially is also pretty clever. It's this hybrid model. The main app is free, supported by ads, which most people use. But they also have the freemium option, the paid subscription, Super Duolingo. Gets you no ads, maybe a family plan, some extra features. And here's the really interesting part, the kicker. Only about 8% of users actually pay for it. But that 8% generates something like 80% of the revenue.
Wow, 8% paying for 80%.
Yeah, and the other 90%, the free users seeing ads, they only account for about 8% of the revenue. It shows how a relatively small group of paying users can support this massive free service for everyone else.
That's quite the balancing act. But still, getting those initial millions, was it expensive marketing campaigns or something else?
Apparently not, or not primarily. Von Ahn himself says word of mouth has been the biggest driver. There was a famous moment back in 2015, remember, Bill Gates was doing a Reddit AMA, someone asked about regrets, and he mentioned wishing he spoke more languages and said he'd been using Duolingo.
Right. An endorsement like that from Bill Gates. That's not just celebrity noise. That adds serious credibility, doesn't it? Especially for people focused on self-improvement.
Exactly, it gives it this aspirational quality. And then, of course, you have to talk about Duo, the owl himself. He's gone from just being a mascot to this, well, this personality, a meme icon even. Those daily reminders, they can be quite insistent.
Passive-aggressive, some might say?
Huh, maybe, but it works. People joke about it, but it keeps them coming back.
Yeah.
It's clever behavioral design, really. Using that fear of breaking the streak, that FOMO, and the other characters like Lily, they're becoming more important too, especially with features for conversational practice. Von Ahn apparently thinks that's super important for learners who are maybe a bit shy about speaking to a real person initially.
It is amazing how attached people get to a digital owl. But what about the real-world side? Does it actually make a difference for people?
Oh, absolutely. There are some really powerful stories. Take the impact on migrants, for instance. There's this example of John Jairo Ocampo, a bus driver from Colombia who moved to the U.S. He struggled to find steady work, and his boss basically told him, more English, more money. So he used Duolingo, really buckled down with it, and now he's doing better. And apparently, his wife and his boss are using it too. It shows how it can be this essential tool, almost a lifeline for economic opportunity and just fitting in. It's more than just a game for many.
That really puts it in perspective.
And they keep adding things. It's not static. 41 languages now. From the big ones like Spanish and Chinese to, Esperanto, Navajo, even High Valyrian from Game of Thrones.
Hi, Valeria. Seriously.
Yep. And now they've branched out into math and music too. It shows this broader ambition to be an education platform. Plus, a lot of the language course development actually comes from volunteers, and they seem pretty quick to update things based on user feedback, like if a question is wrong. It keeps it feeling dynamic.
Okay, so we've got the science, the global reach. But let's get practical. What does this mean for you, the listener, trying to learn a language? Is Duolingo the magic solution? Probably not entirely, right? Let's break down the pros first. What does it really nail?
Okay, pros. First off, that reward system we talked about. It genuinely works for motivation. It's simple, it's visual, the golden skills, the lingots you earn. You can use those for little bonuses, like outfits for Duo or extra lessons on fun topics like flirting or idioms. Keeps things interesting.
Yeah, those little rewards do make you feel like you're achieving something.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Then there's the convenience. This is a huge one. Those short lessons, 5 or 10 minutes, perfect for a commute, waiting in line,
Yeah.
anywhere you have a few spare moments. It turns dead time into productive time. Way better than just scrolling social media or playing, Candy Crush. And the fact you can pause the speaking exercises if you're in public is a nice touch too.
Less embarrassing, yeah.
Third, the contextual learning. It generally teaches words and grammar in sentences, not just isolated lists. You see how things are used, which helps with remembering them and using them more naturally later on. It feels less like rote memorization. And finally, I'd say the stories and community. Those little stories they have, they can be quite funny, and when you understand one, it feels like a real win. Plus, connecting with friends, comparing scores, encouraging each other, it adds a social layer that makes it feel less solitary.
Those are definitely strong points. Makes sense why so many people use it. But okay, let's get real. For someone serious about fluency, what are the downsides, the limitations we need to be aware of?
Right, the cons. Well, number one for many is the speech recognition. It's inconsistent. Sometimes it marks you wrong when you're right. Sometimes it marks you right when you barely said anything.
Yeah.
It's not great for detailed pronunciation feedback, honestly. My advice is often just turn the speaking exercises off if they frustrate you. Focus on repeating sentences out loud yourself and try to get feedback from actual native speakers if you can.
Okay, that's practical advice. What else?
The skill decay could be really discouraging for some. When your completed skills turn back from gold needing practice. Initially, it's useful reinforcement, but later on, when you have dozens of skills, seeing them all decay can feel like you're constantly fighting a losing battle. My tip here is refresh diligently right after learning something new. But once you've got a lot of skills, don't obsess over keeping everything gold all the time. Use the Strengthen Skills button. It targets your actual weak spots more efficiently. Don't be a perfectionist about the gold icons.
Ah, yes, the decaying gold. I know that feeling. And what about those weird sentences we mentioned?
Exactly. The iffy translations are just plain bizarre sentences, like that Danish one, over there behind the bed lies the body of her husband. You have to remember, Duolingo isn't trying to teach you natural conversation with every single sentence. Sometimes it's just contorting things to demonstrate a specific grammar point or vocabulary word. Don't take it as a model for how to actually talk.
Good clarification. It's about the mechanics, not always the meaning.
Precisely. Which leads to maybe the most important point.
Sure.
Duolingo is not a standalone solution. I really have to stress this. It will not make you fluent by itself. It's great for building a foundation, getting basic sentence structure, boosting your reading maybe. But for real proficiency, you absolutely need more classes, immersion, talking to people. It's a tool, a supplement, not the whole toolbox.
That's a crucial takeaway.
Yeah. Then there's the flip side of gamification. It can become extreme gamification. Some people get so caught up in the points, the leagues, maintaining the streak, that the game part takes over from the learning part. That FOMO can be a distraction for some. Also, the limited grammar explanations. It doesn't really teach you the why behind the rules very explicitly within the app itself. You might learn what sounds right through repetition, but not the underlying grammar. The website has some mini lessons, but it might not be enough if you like knowing the rules. And finally, some find the repetitive interface a bit tedious, especially if you try to do longer sessions. The question types don't vary all that much, and that extra click after every answer can feel a bit slow sometimes.
Okay, that's a very balanced view. So, knowing all this, the good, the bad, the methodology, how can you, listening now, really leverage Duolingo effectively? What are the top tips? I think the first one builds directly on what you just said. Integrate. Don't isolate. Use it with other things. Classes, conversation partners, other apps maybe, especially if fluency is your goal. It's a great piece of the puzzle, but not the whole picture. Second, mindset matters. Treat it like a fun game, not homework. Lean into the silliness. Embrace Duo as your slightly demanding coach. If it feels like play, you're way more likely to stick with it. And third, maybe the simplest but most powerful. Consistency is key, seriously. Even just 5 or 10 minutes a day, 1 or 2 levels adds up incredibly over time. Like Luz Van On said, it can replace that mindless scrolling time. A little bit, often, goes a really long way.
Absolutely. Building on that, number 4, embrace imperfection. Language learning is making mistakes. Don't let the skill decay or wrong answers get you down. See decay as a prompt to practice, which reinforces memory. Focus on practice, not perfection. That's how you actually learn. 5th tip, leverage the web version. The app is great for convenience, but the website often has more features. Better access to the grammar notes in the forums, longer translation exercises, progress quizzes. Worth checking out for deeper study. 6th, strategic practice. Use that practice week skills button. Don't just blindly march down the learning path. Let the algorithm help you focus where you need it most. It's more efficient. And finally, number 7, connect beyond the app. Especially if you're traveling or living abroad, don't rely solely on Duolingo. Take actual classes if you can. Set small real-world goals like ordering coffee confidently. Go to local events. Make local friends. That's where the language really comes alive. Read local stuff connected to your hobbies. Watch movies. Follow recipes, whatever interests you. Make the language part of your actual life.
Fantastic tips. So we've really gone deep today. We've seen Duolingo's blend of accessibility, gamified motivation, and learning science. It's clearly struck a chord, turning language learning into this daily habit for millions. And it's fascinating to hear what the CEO, Luz Van On, envisions. He apparently thinks we'll eventually learn almost everything in an app, though he's quick to add it won't replace schools or universities entirely, because they do other things, right? Like childcare, teaching social skills, helping you, figure out how to be an adult.
Exactly. And that really leads to a final thought for you, the listener. In this world that's being increasingly shaped by AI, by gamified learning like Duolingo, how might our whole idea of education change? And what kind of new responsibilities might companies like Duolingo have in creating a truly global, truly accessible learning future? Something to think about as you continue your own learning journey, perhaps mixing and matching different tools like Duolingo to reach your goals.